Hi everyone, welcome to this intro to Java. We're going to jump right in today and cover a variety of starting topics. So let's get started. To program in Java, you will need an IDE. And if you go to the internet and do some research, you can find a really cool video by a guy called Mosh. And he has a Java tutorial for beginners. It's 2 hours and 30 minutes long. It is a great resource. I recommend you bookmark it. And he covers loads of different topics. One of them is how to install Java on your machine. So if you're not sure how to do it, go to this video and follow the instructions. Okay? Once you've followed those instructions, you should end up with an IDE on your computer. I'm using Eclipse. They're all very similar, so you should be able to figure out how to do a variety of different things. The first thing we want to do is open up a new Java project. I'm just going to call my project Project 1. I get into the habit of starting new project names with a capital letter. Don't start it with a number. It won't work. But you can put numbers into a project name as long as it's not the first character in the name. Okay, so let's finish that. Here it is. There's the source folder where all of my code is going to go. At the moment, the source folder is empty. So I can select it, double tap, and go to New, or I can select it and go to File, New. Okay? So when you do that, we're going to create a new class. A class is a file where you can write Java code. Okay? So we're going to create a new class. This one is a special one. Okay? This class is going to be the area where we have our main Java program. So make sure you click this box if you're using Eclipse. We also need to give the class a file name. Now, because this is my main program, I'm just going to call the class file main. And I'm going to use a capital M to give my class file a name. Again, I recommend you start the name with a capital letter. So let's finish that, and automatically Java gives us some initial code, okay? And this is our main function. So between this bracket here and this bracket here, this is where we're going to write the code for the main function. So I'm going to put a comment in just to remind myself, end of main function, okay? Now to test it, let's do some classic Java. System.out.print hello. And let's run that line of code. Let's run the main function, which is currently one line of code. And there we have the result. Hello. Now if I mess things up a little bit as I'm typing my code, I'm going to get some red lines and a little warnings. And if I try to run my code, I'm going to get errors. It won't let me run the code. It will give me a little message to give me a hint. String not properly closed by a double quote. So the double quote should be going here, and that will fix the error. Okay? And if we run again, hopefully everything works as expected. Okay, now let's go back to the task file. What we're going to try and do today is solve 4 puzzles. We're going to be designing 4 functions. And in this video, let's have a look at the second one, sum2. Sum2 asks us to sum 2 integers and display the answer. So you might be asking yourself, well, what does that mean? So I've put some little research hints. Okay. Ooh, Java variables. What is a variable? A variable is a container for storing data. Think of it as a memory box. And in Java, there are different types of variables. So we've got strings for text, int, which means integer for whole numbers, float for decimal numbers, char for single characters, and Boolean, which is a magical data type in programming, which just stores one of two states, true or false. Now, do not panic if none of this makes sense to you at the moment. You're a beginner. This will make sense over time. Let's see if we can find some examples here. So here we've got a variable. The data type is string, and we are assigning some data to that variable. So that little box of memory now contains some data. There's one example. Here's another example. This time we've got a variable called mynum. The data type is integer, and we're assigning some data to that variable. Okay? Ooh, we can use system.out.print to display the result. So let's see if we can use these ideas to solve this problem. We're going to design a function called sum2, and it's going to sum two integers and display the answer. Now let's just go back up here to this example. This is our main function, and this is the design of our own function. We're designing this one ourselves. So we're going to do one called sum2. So it's going to be public static void sum2, bracket, bracket, curly bracket, and then we're going to write some code to complete the task. So let's do that. Just going to get rid of my original code. There's the end of the main function. So let's start our new function, public static void sum2, open some brackets, open some curly brackets. Just going to put a little comment here, end of sum2 function, just to remind myself, all of my code starts here and finishes here. Okay, so we need to create a variable to store a whole number. Whole numbers have a data type of int. I'm going to give this variable a name of num1, and I'm going to assign it a number. Yay, done. I'm now going to do that for another number. And now I have to display the answer. One technique that I could use here is to create another variable, and I'm going to call it sum, and this will store this data plus this data. And now I need to display the result. Let's see if that works. Oh, nothing's happening. In the main function, this is the function that drives the program, I'm not calling the sum2 function. So it's just sitting there happily doing nothing. We never called it. So call the sum2 function to activate it. Let's activate it. Okay? So to do that, all we have to do is this. We're calling a function. So we'll jump to here, execute the code, and then we'll jump back to the main program. And if there was some code here, we would continue with that. So let's run again. Hey, we get the answer. Okay. Now, before I leave this video, I just want to explain a couple of things. When you start to use a variable in Java, You need to tell Java the data type. Java expects you to do that. If you don't do it, Java will be very angry. But after you've done that, if you want to assign some new data to the same variable, you don't need to tell Java that it's an int again. Okay, so we could do this. Whoops, I don't want to do that. We're going to update the data stored in num1, and let's update the sum again. And let's print out the result again. Okay, so we create a variable, assign some data, create another variable, assign some data, create another variable, and assign it some data, print out the result, change the data, update the sum, and print out the result. Let's see if that works. Yes, it does. Have a go.